Which of the following is the primary immunoglobulin secreted into the intestinal lining and mucous membranes of the respiratory tract? A. Ig. B. Ig. C. Im. D. Ig. The answer is B. Ig. Ig, primarily in its secretory form, S-Ig, is the most abundant immunoglobulin in the lining of the gastrointestinal tract and in the mucous membranes of the respiratory tract. It is also present in the urogenital tract, in tears, in saliva, and in breast milk. All of the other immunoglobulins may be present in mucous membranes, depending on the presence of active infection or allergy, but none is as abundant in secretions as Ig. Ig is primarily involved in binding allergens and inducing the allergic response via release of histamine. Im is expressed on the surface of B cells and is the first immunoglobulin to fight pathogens at the site of infection, injury. Ig are the most abundant antibody throughout the body and play the largest role in fighting pathogens. Ig can cross the placenta and thus confer passive immunity to the fetus. The presence of which of the following cytomegalovirus, CMV, antibodies would suggest an active CMV infection? A. CMV-Im. B. CMV-Ig. C. CMV-Ig. D. CMV-Ig. The answer is A. CMV-Im. The presence of CMV-Im would suggest an active cytomegalovirus infection, as Im is the immunoglobulin released during the initial, active infection with a pathogen. The presence of Ig would suggest a past infection, where Ig specific to the virus would be present as part of adaptive immunity, ready to respond to the virus should the host ever be re-exposed. Ig is not formed when an individual contracts CMV, as Ig is produced in response to allergens rather than pathogens, except parasites. The function of Ig is thought to be related to the allergic response by regulating basophils and mast cells. Which of the following is the only immunoglobulin capable of crossing the placenta and conferring passive immunity to a fetus? A. Ig. B. Ig. C. Im. D. Ig. The answer is B. Ig. The only immunoglobulin that has been shown to be able to cross the placenta is Ig. This is important in that it confers short-term immunity to the fetus that continues into the first few months of the infant's life. Note that it is common to give Rh-negative anti-Rh Ig injections at about 28 weeks gestation. A booster may also be given at about 34 weeks gestation. Which cells of the pancreas produce insulin? A. Gamma cells. B. Alpha cells. C. Delta cells. D. Beta cells. The answer is D. Beta cells. Insulin is produced by beta cells of the pancreatic islets. Insulin's action is to decrease blood glucose, facilitating its uptake into cells. Alpha cells produce glucagon, which has the opposite effect as insulin. Delta cells produce somatostatin, which inhibits many digestive processes. And gamma cells produce pancreatic polypeptide, which regulate pancreatic secretion. Where in the human body is the pituitary located? A. In the brainstem. B. Attached to the pancreas. C. Behind the thyroid. D. Under the hypothalamus. E. Above the kidneys. The answer is D. Under the hypothalamus. The pituitary is located just below the hypothalamus. The pituitary and the hypothalamus are connected by nerves and maintain an important working relationship with one another. Both are located near the base of the brain. Which of the following cytokines acts as a chemoattractant for neutrophils? A. Interleukin 8. B. Tumor necrosis factor alpha. C. Interleukin 1. D. Interleukin 6. The answer is A. Interleukin 8. Interleukins, IL, are cytokines that play a role in signaling the immune cells. IL-8 is produced mainly by macrophage and dendritic cells and plays a major role in inflammation as a chemoattractant for neutrophils. IL-1 and IL-6 both induce acute phase proteins. TNF-alpha is involved in the acute phase reaction. It is an endogenous pyrogen, meaning it induces fever, and is also involved in apoptosis and tumor inhibition. What antibacterial proteins are contained in tears? A. Lysozymes. B. Catalacidin. C. DIFA1. D. Defensin 5. The answer is A. Lysozymes. Lysozymes are a group of defense enzymes found in tears, saliva, mucus, and breast milk. It is considered part of our innate immune systems, as its presence in tears prevents infectious conjunctivitis. Catalacidin, defensin 5, and DIFA1 are found in the lysosomes of polymorphonuclear leukocytes, PMNs, and macrophages. All of the following cells express major histocompatibility complex 1, MHC1, except dash. A. Hepatic cells. B. Epithelial cells. C. Neutrophils. D. Red blood cells. The answer is D. Red blood cells. Major histocompatibility complex 1 in a membrane protein that binds to peptide fragments from pathogens such as viruses and bacteria and then displays them on the cell's surface in order to alert other immune cells of the presence and nature of infection. All cells with nuclei express MHC1. Red blood cells do not have nuclei, and do not express MHC1 on membranes. Which of the following cells produce antibodies? A. Natural killer cells. B. T cells. C. B cells. D. All of these. The answer is C. B cells. Antibodies are only produced by B cells, specifically by a type of specialized B cell called a plasma cell. B cells belong to a broader category of leukocytes known as lymphocytes, which are granulocytes. In what tissue do T lymphocytes mature? A. The bone marrow. B. The thymus. C. The spleen. D. The liver. The answer is B. The thymus. T lymphocytes are so titled because they mature in the thymus, unlike B lymphocytes, which mature in the bone marrow. The thymus is located in the anterior superior mediastinum, ventral to the heart and dorsal to the sternum. It is most active in the neonatal and pre-adolescent periods. Afterwards, it degenerates and is replaced with adipose tissue.